Hi, my name's Angela Hachimovic and I'm the Apprentice Lecturer. And with us here today we have our seasoned award-winning lecturer, Rosina Mladenovic. I'm here to give you, or we're here to give you some tips on your first lecture and your subsequent lectures. I'm going to start with teaching matters and your health matters. So be kind to yourself. Don't be afraid to be nervous in your first lecture. Everyone is nervous, even our seasoned lecturer over here. Turn that nervous energy into adrenaline and try and make it a high impact lecture. And one of the things that's really great to do is to make sure you slow down, pace yourself, and don't be scared to have a break midway and ask the students questions as you go along, because that's a good way to pace yourself. And if all else fails, don't forget to breathe. And one of the great techniques I have is what I like to do with all my students in the first lecture is get them to bring their shoulders up to their ears and drop it really quickly. And like I said, don't forget to breathe.
It's a really good point to think about, really taking care of yourself like Angela's talking about, because if you take that analogy like when you're on the plane and you've got the oxygen mask that falls from the roof, the first thing they say is make sure that you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you assist anyone else. So what Angela's saying is if you take care of yourself and your health matters, you're going to be in the best position to really support your students' learning. So I think it's a great tip.
Thank you, thank you. And don't forget, you are clever. You're the lecturer. You're very, very clever. One of the great things I like to do the night before the lecture is practice in front of the mirror. Practicing is a great way not just to see whether or not your lecture is timely, but also to get a feel of, does it sound cohesive? Does the material make sense? So don't forget to practice in front of the mirror, but not in the nude. And watch, while you're in the lecture, a great technique is also to watch the body language of the students. It's really important to get an idea of, are they getting a sense of what you're saying? Does it make sense to them? And if they're looking starry-eyed, ask questions. And don't forget, watch their body language.
I think that's a really good point, to watch the body language and also to watch their questions, because sometimes even though you are clever, you're going to get some questions that challenge you. I know over my 20 odd years of teaching, I've had some questions that you could think about, okay, could I muffle through it? I know a little bit about it, but it's much better, I've found myself, to say, I'll get back to you. That's a great question. I'll get back to you in the next lecture. Students respect you a lot more if you are human, that you don't know all the answers and that you're happy to help them. The key thing is to make sure that you actually do get back to them next week so that they can trust you.
One of the simple things I think you can do before your first lecture is visit the lecture theatre that you're lecturing at. Familiarise yourself with the actual aids that are available there. Do they have PowerPoint slides? Do they have a whiteboard? Do they have a blackboard? Do you need chalk? Make sure you bring all your teaching aids with you. Things like your USB, your iPad, your laptop, make sure you bring it all with you. And a really important thing that I find is that, remember, technology does fail us sometimes. And what you need to do is email your PowerPoint lecture slides to yourself the night before, and that way you can access them online through your email in any lecture theatre at any time. So like I said, be prepared and really make sure you have the essentials with you, like the water bottle, which is most important, so that you can take a break and a breather. Cheers. Cheers. Now, the other thing I think is really important as lecturers, and what we have the capacity to do, is to create a really positive learning environment for the students. I like to come in early to my lectures. I like to mingle with the students. It's a great idea to ask them questions, observe what they're doing as they walk in. Are they listening to music? Are they chatting about the course? You'll get a good sense of, are they having any hesitations about the course? You know, and one of the great things I like doing to surprise the students is sit at the back of the lecture theatre and just watch them all come in and talk as if you're one of the students, with the students beside you. Great icebreaker. And then you walk down to the front to present your first lecture. So I think it's really important to create a positive learning environment, and don't forget to smile.
Smiling is so important. The students really need to feel comfortable and safe in your learning environment. They need to trust you. Now, one of the things that I think is key is not just saying, oh, I welcome all questions, any question is welcome, but actually creating an environment where it is safe and it's actually wonderful to contribute. I'd like to give an example with Angela here so that you get a demonstration of what would be the right way to do it and what would be not such a supportive way to support students. So let's assume we're in a first year accounting lecture and I've opened the discussion and said, could anybody tell me what depreciation is? Oh, yes.
Isn't it the price of a car when it leaves the car yard?
Now, fact of the matter is, that's completely wrong. Now, some lecturers might go, no, does anybody know the correct answer? Or, haven't you been reading the textbook? Or, didn't you prepare? These are not really supportive answers to engage students. So you want to be able for the students to really feel safe, not just for you to say ask any question or answer any question, but actually show to demonstrate. So I'd like to try that again. Does anybody know the answer to what is depreciation?
Isn't it the price of a car when it leaves the car yard?
I am so glad you said that. Now that is a common, so I've already started very positively. Or I could say, now that is a common answer from students and I'm so glad you raised that because you don't want to be answering like that in the exam. It's safe in this room, but in the exam you could lose some marks. So any kind of positive reinforcement is really going to make the atmosphere such that it is a learning environment and everyone can contribute and all answers are welcome. So I think that is a really key point.
That's really great, Rosina. Really good advice for students. But guess what? As a student, I just want to know what's in the exams.
Absolutely, and we can understand that. A lot of lecturers say, I'm a bit cynical about that. All it is students just want to know what's in the exam. Why not take that to our advantage? If the student's focus is on the exam and our focus is on the exam, as long as we make the assessment very clear so that they know what we want, that the assessment actually is a learning opportunity, so they're actually learning while they're doing the task, and then we give them really good feedback so that wherever they need improvement, they can learn, then of course we want to focus on the assessment. So use that to your advantage. When the students ask you about the assessment, say, that's fabulous, I'm so glad you're so engaged. I'd love to tell you about what support we've got for the assessment, where you can get the help, where do you get the information you need so that you can give us the best answers. Because students, often think that we're actually against them, that we're not for them, and that our whole job is, as I know we can say that together, that our whole job is to support the student learning experience, and that's what we're trying to do. So make sure that the student know that you don't plot and plan at night what tricky question you could ask so that they get tripped up in the exam. That's not how it works, right?
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I feel a lot better about exams myself now, Rosina. But what about the next 13 weeks? What are we going to be doing?
I love that you asked that question. Students often feel very lost. Let's face it, we get them in the first week and we give them a unit outline that's got this week we're going to do that week we're going to do that, and all we're really showing them is all bits and pieces of a course that we've, in our curriculum development, we know where they're going, we know what we want them to achieve over the 13 weeks, but do they? So I really like to start the first lecture with an analogy, and I use this analogy in my class with the students. I say to them, this unit is going to be like going on a journey. So let's take that idea a little bit more literally, and I do show them generally a map of Australia, and I say, let's assume that over the next 13 weeks we're going to be going from Sydney to Perth. Now, if I never show them a map of Australia and show them how big it is and where Sydney is and where Perth is, and all I do is show them individual weeks of work, that doesn't give them a whole picture. But if I only showed them a big roadmap and never actually got down to the detail, they'd never be able to leave Sydney to be able to get to Perth. So what I do every week is make sure that whenever I introduce a new topic, which is your little roadmap, I make sure I bring it back to the big roadmap and show where we are at this point in time. So I'll say, wow, week 1 we were over here, but look, we're at week 5 right now, and this is how it all fits into the course. Now that analogy obviously is a helpful idea, but what does it actually look like in practice? One of the things I like to do is to have like a concept map of some sort that helps the student understand about the unit. But in this particular case, what we're doing is the students have just come from a unit called Buzz 1030, which is also accounting. And this over here is this particular unit we're using right now. And in the middle here, we've got this whole idea of of accounting. So I'm able to say, you've just come from a unit that's talked about all of this, and really what the focus of this unit is all of this, and how we're going to get there week by week is through this process here. And so you can see that way the students don't get lost, they know exactly where they're going, and it really helps them keep up and stay interested in the lecture. I really hope you've enjoyed our little talk, and I'm just going to hand it over to my colleague here to finish off for the day.
Great tips, Rosina, great tips. And all I'm going to say is I'm so looking forward to my first lecture. Be energetic, enjoy it, have fun, engage with your students.
And if all else fails and you don't know what to do, just come and take this little bit of advice.